All right, I'm on hole number 5 of the 2020 St. Patrick's Day tournament. I'm in Monday's practice round in the rookie division. Hole number 5. What is hole number 5? Hole number 5 is Glen Monarch. Hole number 4. It's a par 4. These Glen Monarch holes, if you've got lower developed stuff, these Glen Monarch holes are where we can try and pick shots up. It doesn't matter if you've got upper or lower developed stuff. We can try and pick shots up. Now, a couple things I did the walkthrough. And then coming out and playing, there is a row of trees right here that used to not be here. There used to be, it looked just like this. There was no trees over here. Now there's a row of trees right here. And so I came out here with a power 4 ball and an extra mile and a power 5 ball and an extra mile in the practice round to see if I could just get over. And with the power 4 ball and the power 5 ball, I ended up once on the fairway, once in the sand, and once on the rough over in this corner. So I had all of my curl on there and I couldn't get it any closer because where you're engaging the sand, you can't move over to the left anymore to pick up that because you're right here and you're pinched up against that sand. So I thought, well, this is simple. I'll just bring out an Apocalypse, a level 4 Apocalypse, and I will put on lots of curl. And I will have, because I got tons more curl, so I went out there and I did the shot and bam, hit the tree right here. So there's trees here. That shot's out. But what we can do is we can try and bring it this way where you're getting a bounce up in this area and you're trying to clear the sand and run it up. So there is an opportunity on this side to do a shot with a 3 or a 4 power ball. I don't think you have to bring out a 5 power ball to do it. You may be able to bring out a 5 power ball and not do a lot of overpower. So with my upper developed account, I'm going to be exploring this because the way I normally play this hole, this is the high percentage way to get an eagle on this hole. And it's all going to be dependent on which way the wind's going, is to lay it up right out in this area right here. You're in minimum short iron and bring it home with your short iron. You can also do the same thing from over here, but I find that from over on this side, you'll probably need a little bit of backspin because the way you're engaging the green coming in, you're on a side hill, so there's a little bit of drop, and you're a little pinched, so you may need to use a little bit more backspin if you come at it from the right than you would from the left. From the left, the only reason you'd put on backspin is to make sure that you could clear your red line. But it's going to be dependent on how the wind's blowing. If the wind's blowing in this direction, this shot over here is for sure going to be better because when we come into the hole, we're going to be hitting against the tailwind. And if you were over here, you're going to be hitting now your second shot, the one that really counts, against the side wind. If the wind's blowing in this direction, then it would be the reverse. What the worst of both worlds is to be where the wind's blowing right down the middle. So the drive shot's going to be pretty consistent. You're going to have a tailwind, but the second shot, no matter which side you're on, you're going to be hitting against the slight side wind. So we'll have to see which way the wind's blowing. And it may determine which side's better, because it's better to try and go to the cup with a tailwind than it is with some kind of side wind. But with a lower developed account, I'm not worrying about trying to get on a 1. It might be possible if I brought out a bigger ball to get up into this area with my extra mile and get over, but I've got an extra mile 7, which has the same exact topspin as an extra mile 6, which is like 4.5 bars of topspin. And I'm not sure if I can get over there. I probably could, but I may have to bring out a bigger power ball, and I'm not going to do that in my lower developed account. I want to try and shoot the shots that are giving me a consistent way to look at it. Going in right now, I'm going to shoot over here. This is the shot that I want to take. But once we get out there, the wind may dictate something different. The wind may go, no, you don't want to take that shot from the left. You want to go to the right. And I really want to try and get out there into my Kingfisher range. If I could bring that QB, that would be the way to go. But my QB is lower developed. It's a level 7, but at level 8, it starts to get a little bit, it starts to get some of that top spin. And right now I know everybody thinks of these clubs using backspin. Backspin's what a lot of people are looking for. I'm looking for the top spin because it gives me some more distance, some more rollout. It'd be nice. 2 more cards away from picking up potentially some more topspin there. So I'm not sure what it gets at level 8. I haven't looked. I always like to be surprised. And what's funny is I can go to Golf Clash Notebook and look at the stats on the clubs there, and you can see them, and you're like, okay. But when you're in game and you're looking at them here, they look so much different. They look so much better when you're in game. So I'm going to take this bag right here, a QB, 214, trying to get some of that stuff, and a Kingfisher, and I'm going to make sure I got an extra mile and a Kingfisher. I'm going to try and start it off. I don't think I have enough topspin to really get me up there. I'm going to probably have to use my extra mile. And I'm going to use a bigger ball just because I'm going to try and, what I want to be is I want to be deeper into my short iron on the other side. Now, if you're using an extra mile on this drive, it takes very little topspin. Very little. Like 1.5. And you need to hit it perfect if you're trying to get up there towards that. Otherwise, you'll bleed off into the rough. And what you don't want to have to be doing with lower developed stuff is hitting from the rough, because you have, number one, you have clubs that don't have a lot of distance, and they definitely don't have any ball guide. So my opponent's got an extra mile 4 and a white ball. Now we're playing in tournaments. And coming out in a tournament, this is why we save. I'm not a hoarder of balls. Like when I say, save your balls, I'm not telling you to hoard them so that 6 years from now you can still have some of those balls. I hoard them so that I only use my bigger stuff in a tournament, so that I give myself a little better opportunity in tournaments. I'm going to just put on one topspin because I do not want to get greedy here, because I don't have any ball guide to kind of tell me where I'm at. I'm pretty sure 1.5 is fine. It's 2.1 per ring. There's 4.2, so we're a little over 2 rings. Hitting it perfect. And see how that topspin responds. And I'm sure I could have put on a little teeny bit more. But you can see how it rolls up there. I could have put on maybe a half more. My notes, and I know from the last tournament, 1.5, but 1.5 gets you so close. And if you hit great to the right, the fairway's shorter on the right-hand side, and it's so easy to bleed into that rough. So I'm in my Kingfisher range, and my Kingfisher hits 1-2, 2-1, 2-4, and I should be pretty close to min club at 2.4 per ring, and I'm going to add on 10% to the wind, and the wind is blowing with us on this side. So this is the side where we're going to have the tailwind coming in, whereas if we hit to the right-hand side on the drive, we're going to be hitting this shot right here against the side wind. And so it's going to be better to come at it from here. Getting a little teeny bit more distance would put me so that the wind is like truly, where's my min club? There's min. There's max. So there's mid. So I'm kind of in between min and mid. So I'm going to do 2.2 per ring. I'm going to do a 10% wind adjustment. That's 2.6. I'm going to do a 2.2, so that leaves me 4. That's going to be slightly less than a quarter. Try and hit it perfect, and I'll have to snap it off. Hitting it perfect. In the hole. So with lower developed clubs, that's the shot right over there. And I was kind of in between clubs, or in between min and max. So at mid club and max. So at max, I don't know why I took a picture right there. At mid club, okay, so I'm hitting that club. Let's write these numbers down. I'm hitting that Kingfisher, 1.2, 2.1, 2.4. And I was kind of in between these two numbers. So that would be a 3, and half of that's 1.5. So it's like I was hitting it about 2.2 per ring, because I'm in between. I really like it where I'm like dead center, like right on this number or right on this number. So it may be one of those deals because we're kind of in between these two where we have to make a slight adjustment. But the key there is to try and end up in the same spot every time. So using the 1 point, if I would have put on a little teeny bit more topspin, I could have eked a little closer to this number right here. But you want to end up in the same spot every time on your drive so that as you start to work this number out, it's the same every time, because you don't want to end up here one time and then here one time. And so one time you're closer to the 2-1 and one time you're closer to the 2-4 and the next time you're closer to 2-1. You want to try and end up in the same spot every time. So if you work out this number, it's going to be consistent from one time to the next, to the next, to the next. And what I was saying on that hole, let's go back and look at it, is the wind is blowing. The wind's blowing like this. And so where I was at right here, when I came into the cup, I've got this kind of side wind. Whereas if you try and shoot it out a little bit farther, and I'm not too big of a fan of that because it's hard to get through, it's hard to weave and bob through this. But if you get out there a little bit farther, now you've got a true tailwind behind you. So the last time this was in a tournament, the wind was blowing more kind of in this direction and people were overshooting it out into here, and they were actually creating a side wind situation on their next drive. But the way that the wind is in this tournament, it might not be bad if you feel safe trying to get through this gap to eke out a little bit more distance. Because as far as arc goes, you know, your arc out here, you're on the same arc. Wherever you're at out here in your club is pretty much where I was at. It's going to be exactly the same. But the wind will be more in your back if you can hit a little bit further through that gap, if that makes sense. I'm not a real big fan of that. Maybe with my upper developed stuff because I've got better ball guide and I can direct it a little bit. But laying it up right here in front is definitely a makeable shot with lower developed stuff, especially if you got a Kingfisher in your bag. And everybody should have a Kingfisher in their bag unless they're brand new. All right, that was hole number 5 of the 2020 St. Patrick's Day Tournament and Monday's practice round in the Rookie Division. Thanks for watching.